right, guys. Matt, this week you'd sent us a note on something. How about maybe talking about crossover musicians? And I think that's a great topic because it's been going on for a while now, but I'm sure we have thoughts on musicians going from one genre to another. Anybody want to start this convo out?
Yeah, so it kind of came. I started thinking about it because Jared, I'm sure you're well aware, and Ted, you probably too, because you've talked about that. You like Post Malone, but he's going to be releasing a country album here pretty soon, and he's been like teasing things. He put out a song with Morgan Wallen, and he's been like posting little clips here and there, and it's working on me because anytime I see him post this little like teaser, I'm like, come on. So yeah, he's going to be releasing a country album. Recently, Beyonce released a country album, and people were back and forth on that. Honestly, I haven't listened to much of it. I listened to the one song that's been on the radio. Otherwise, I haven't heard anything else off of it. And and it's been a big topic. People, you're not a country artist. Why are you trying to make a country album? Stay in your lane type of stuff. Or why are you trying to Beyonce obviously very successful over in the R&B world. Why are you trying to come into our country world? So people are saying the same about Post Malone. I remember when I worked at FYE when Taylor Swift came out, FYE, music store at the mall back in the day. No one knew who Taylor Swift was, but when she came out, kind of pop country. And I remember people at the store would get so mad because her albums were in the country section. She's not a country artist. Why is she in the country section? She's not, like all these people. And I just remember thinking, like, why do you care? Like, first of all, like, why do you care so much? But also, like, she's an artist. So let her make whatever music she wants to make. So I'm curious. I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation.
Well, I'll jump in real quick on Taylor Swift. It's interesting that hearing your perspective on it, because my viewpoint was, I remember seeing her when she was like 15 years old, with the acoustic guitar. And I thought she was at that time country. That's what I thought. I thought she moved from basically country into pop and pop stardom, superstardom. But I guess I didn't hear that first part when she first started out. She was getting some grief from country fans, huh?
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely more country than she is now. But the old school, traditional Hank Williams type of country fans thought she was still like too poppy to be in the country section. Yeah. But yeah, she has definitely went full on pop obviously now.
Well, before Jared jumps in, I'll comment real quickly on Beyonce. I heard some of her songs. I don't really care if she sings country or not. It didn't blow me away. Let's put it that way. Right. But I am really looking forward to Post Malone. I think he's going to knock it out of the park. Without even hearing anything. I think it's going to be great.
Have you heard the one song with Morgan Wallen?
I have heard that one song. That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Posty's your guy, right, Jared? So are you excited?
Yeah, it's gonna be a great album. He almost fits country perfectly. I mean, he's from Texas, so it's a perfect fit. First song with Morgan Wallen's a great song. I can't wait to hear it. It's gonna be great. Here's where I'm at with it. I think it's for artists. It goes one or two ways. Either it's like a start of a brand new career that propels you into a whole nother level of stardom, like we see with country artists going to pop, like you said, Taylor Swift and Miley Cyrus started as country. Somewhat, I think you would categorize, and she's obviously moved to pop now, more rock than anything. So I think it's cool when you see artists, kind of transition in to different genres. It shows that they're growing, not just churning out the same crap. Now, again, it can go bad. I remember Zac Brown Band album that came out 3-4 years ago that was kind of more like EDM pop. It's like horrible. It's like almost like ruins like all the stuff they put out before that. Beyonce's album, I think it's bad. I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like where it goes one or two ways. Like music hasn't really been popping the same way it was, early 2010s. Makes this kind of left turn. I'm sure she has a crazy fan base, so I'm sure it's popular. I'm sure it's doing well in that like somewhat echo chamber, but I don't think it's that good. I didn't think that was a good move. I didn't think it was that good of an album. It just didn't work, in my opinion. Now, other times there's been times where it's mixed opinions. Like Lil Wayne, I remember like 2008, like his album Rebirth. If you ask a lot of Lil Wayne fans, they're like, this is an abomination. This is the worst thing I've ever heard. I like that album. I think it's got a few good songs on it. So it varies by artists, but I think for me, I got no problem with it. At the end of the day, good music is good music. So if you can make good music, it's like, go do it in whatever genre you want to. But if you ever overstep your bounds in that way, I think it's a quick way to kind of send your career really down the hill.
Yeah, I always think of it as like actors. You know, you wouldn't expect Jim Carrey to only do comedy movies his whole career. You wouldn't expect, you know, some of these other actors to only do serious movies their whole career. They're going to do, you know, Jeff Daniels. I've seen some clips recently on TikTok or, you know, whatever social media of Jeff Daniels talking about he was not a comedic actor when he got the role to do Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey. And think about that. I mean, that legendary role for him, you know, doing Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey. So would you not want actors to ever cross over into other genres? And yeah, like you said, Jared, sometimes it doesn't go well if certain actors try and do a serious movie or go the other way, do a comedy. It's kind of like, this doesn't really work for you, but still, you know, you don't hate on them for doing it. So I've never had a problem with that. I remember, you know, in the 90s, early 2000s, artists trying to cross over and maybe do different kind of music. And I just always, artists that I was a fan of, you know, you listen to it, and if it's not your song, you know, whatever, you stick to the stuff that you like. But everything's subjective. You know, I always laugh when, you know, there's, like you said, there's probably people who love that Beyonce country album. That's fine. Then listen to it. If you love it, listen to it. But did that happen much back in, you know, the day? I mean, you're obviously big music fan, Ted, and, you know, through the 60s, 70s. And did it happen that much? Did you know, classic rock people do like, you know, softer music or something?
Yeah, once in a while. I mean, you know, it maybe not as far back as my heyday, but, you know, like guys like Darius Rucker. I mean, he moved into country flawlessly. Why was he not ever 100% country singer? You know, I mean, he's awesome at it. But back in the day, you know, there were guys like Kenny Rogers. He started out in pop, then went full-time into country. Glenn Campbell the same way, Linda Ronstadt. There's others, obviously, Ray Charles. But I was going to ask you guys, is there a couple songs maybe that you would pinpoint that maybe are your favorites that crossed over into whatever genre? I mean, I know, Jared, you texted us Aerosmith. You talking about the Aerosmith Run DMC Walk This Way?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I figured that's probably number one on your list. That's like, I feel like the number one song that people throw out, like how that was so, you know,
perfect,
changing or not changing, but like it was a cultural moment. It's funny, listen back. It's like this song, I don't get it. It's a solid song, but good Lord, I don't think it's that revolutionary what they did on it.
It's probably less about the song, more about Aerosmith and Run DMC getting together. That's probably more what it was about.
Yeah,
and the visual on MTV at the time too, right? I would say I talked about Bon Jovi a couple weeks ago. John Bon Jovi recorded "Who Says You Can't Go Home" with Jennifer Nettles. That was just a clutch country tune, man. That he just knocked it out of the park.
That's a good one. I mean, Taylor Swift, you could throw out her whole catalog. I mean, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. I mean, that's her whole thing is basically a change. I mean, I threw out Lil Wayne's Rebirth album. Again, that's a very controversial. I would say most people would say that's just maybe the worst piece of musical content that's ever been produced, but I like it. So that's kind of there's a few songs that I like on that album. So those are my two options, Taylor Swift and, you know, Lil Wayne's got a few of them.
Yeah. I know, like Nelly was big, you know, the rap artist Nelly, he was big, you know, when I was in high school and then in college was definitely his peak, and he crossed over quite a bit. He did, you know, R&B. He you know, linked up with Tim McGraw and some other country artists, and he was one that definitely dipped into doing rap, R&B, doing some country and stuff, and people would rip on him all the time. But same thing, I was a fan. I like Nelly, so I like all those songs. Did I listen to some of those ones as much as like the classic hits? Maybe not, but it's cool. I'm not going to hate on someone for trying it. So I'm definitely, yeah. Am I going to download the whole Beyonce country album? Probably not. But Post Malone, I mean, immediately when that all comes out, I'm going to be downloading that. And it goes back to the Super Bowl halftime shows, or the halftime shows that we talk about. You got to think Post Malone's got to be up there on the list anyway for one of these big halftime shows at some point.
We can only hope.
He's number one on my list, man, behind Taylor Swift. So
yeah, amen. One other one that I didn't bring up was Kid Rock. He had a pretty good segue from his music into country. Yeah. Not a big fan of Kid Rock.
All summer long, you can't beat that. All time,
right? Exactly. And he sang with Sheryl Crow. "Picture" was a pretty good song too.
Yeah, I can't believe I used to be such a Kid Rock fan. Thinking about the left turn that I can't say left turn, the right
No.
turn that he's the right turn that he's taken. Like, but yeah, he did. You know, he was rock. You know, and then did do the country album. So he did that.
I think his best music is his country music. I think his other music is horrendous. I never understood it.
That's definitely a generational thing too, because I mean it was so big because he was like rock / rap. And that was such a big thing. Like Linkin Park was a big deal. Limp Bizkit was a big deal back then. So like there weren't necessarily maybe a ton of artists that like crossed over, but they did the same thing. They were hard rock, but they were rapping during those songs. Or like Linkin Park had a dude that would scream, Chester Bennington, but then they also had you know, someone that would rap during the song. Yeah. So that was a big thing. Right. So
it's funny you brought up Kid Rock, because I think he had a lot more fans before he turned really political, you know, depending on whatever your beliefs are. But yeah, I think that probably hurt him, because he's lost a lot of his fans. Where if you're non-political and you're in this business or that business, whatever, you're going to keep a lot more of your fans. There's just no getting around it.
Yep.
All right. Hey, he brought up, by the way, do we have any more on the music topic? I did have a couple of shows I watched recently, and you brought up Jeff Daniels. I watched his new series on Netflix called A Man in Full. I just got to say, it's about a real estate mogul he plays, and he has this Southern accent that it's okay, but he doesn't really pull it off. This is one of those shows I'm really surprised. I'm going to say I did not care for it. I'm usually one of Jeff Daniels' biggest fans, but it's not any good.
As you were leading into this, I was going to say you would never say a negative word about anything Jeff Daniels related. Your credibility is back after Unfrosted.
Thank you.
We can trust your opinions now. I'm with you. I know it must have been really bad because you're a Jeff Daniels fan through and through. Yeah, that got to be the first thing he's ever produced or been a part of that you didn't like.
It's very rare. You know, he's one of those guys. I'm going to buy my popcorn to see what he's in for sure. And it was just disjointed. It had a pretty good cast. It just didn't click on the 3-point podcast scale. He's lucky to get a 2.0. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because yeah, I've seen it, and same thing. I like most everything of what Jeff Daniels does. We haven't watched it, but with that review, I think that's going to be put on the back burner for a while.
Yeah, that's my recommendation on that. And then I did, you know how I like my music documentaries. The Beach Boys just had a new one come out on Disney Plus. Very good. There was some things about the Beach Boys I didn't realize. I mean, they started out their first 3 or 4 albums. One of the longtime members wasn't a part of it. They had some young kid that was the 5th Beach Boy at that time that he just decided he was going to exit the band. They were going to bring Al Jardine back in, and the rest was history. But they had some tidbits in there that I didn't know, you know, and I was a pretty good Beach Boys fan. So it's worth the watch on Disney Plus.
It's ironic you bring up the Beach Boys. I was just seeing some on Twitter about them performing. I don't know how old are they?
They're old. They're old. I mean,
and you listen to their songs, it sounds like little schoolboys singing. How are they even performing?
They're probably lip syncing most of that.
No, I don't think they're lip. I don't think they're lip syncing. I think Mike Love, the lead singer, I still think he's the guy that sings. But you know, you got to realize, Jared, when these old dogs are on tour, they've got the best of the best musicians backing them up, not the original people. You know, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
So that's how they do it. In fact, John Stamos is going to be their drummer for this summer tour. It's their 60th anniversary.
Is he really? It's funny you bring, man, that's actually really cool. Jesse and the Rippers, you know, from Full House. That is such a generational thing. Full House was the coolest show when I was a kid. And the Beach Boys, probably because of the John Stamos tie, the Beach Boys were on Full House often. And that was always so cool. Beach Boys' first concert that I ever went to, I've probably mentioned that here before, but I was in 2nd grade and I went to a Beach Boys concert on a school night too. And that's just
wow.
Story at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Yeah, that was pretty wild. But no, the Beach Boys showing up on Full House was always so cool. And I saw they've toured. So John Stamos being their drummer, I might have to see if they're actually. I think they were in Charlotte. I think they were in Charlotte a couple weeks ago, but I'll have to see if they're coming back. That'd be fun to go to.
Yeah, that's already been announced. He's going to play drums in their Michigan show. I think they're going to be at Meadowbrook in August. I'm thinking we'll probably go see him,
What's
just
the
for
connection I'm
nostalgia.
missing here? I don't understand the connection.
Say
I
that
guess I
again?
don't know. Did the documentary? So I don't know. I mean, John Stamos was a musician his whole life growing up, and obviously now. So maybe him and the Beach Boys were just friends. Maybe Ted, do you know?
I don't really know the story on that. It might have been just because of the whole Full House thing.
Yeah, what's the Full House thing? What is that? What
So,
do you mean the Full House?
Yeah, like Full House. I mean, you know what Full House is, obviously.
It was a TV show.
You know that. The Beach Boys would just show up, and because Uncle Jesse, John Stamos, was a musician on the show, and he on the show was friends with the Beach Boys. So the Beach Boys would they would play themselves on the show like fairly often. So it was just cool, watching the show as a kid when the Beach Boys would be on.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
that's the tie, and that would be my guess without knowing that that's where it all started, and they needed a drummer. But one little tidbit before we wrap up that part of it, you probably didn't realize this, or maybe you heard it somewhere along the line. The Beach Boys came out in the early 60s, and they just dominated the charts in their first 3 or 4 or 5 different #1 songs they had. They went to tour in Asia somewhere, and at that same time they were touring in Asia, they lost their momentum because it happened to be coinciding with 1964 and the Beatles coming to America, and the Beatles knocked them off the charts. And then it became kind of a rivalry between the Beach Boys and the Beatles for a number of years. So little music trivia for you. And that was documented in the doc.
Yeah, I might have to check that out. That's a cool story.
What did they say? Like, well, there's some. I was just trying to find it real quick, and then we can tie up the Beach Boys. Weren't they basically like corporate shells, where basically they were like made by like the record label, brought them all together, basically because of funding and money behind them is why they became
no. They started out, the 3 Wilson brothers, their cousin Mike Love and Al Jardine, one of their best friends, had a garage group band, right? Their dad was their manager. Their dad was the crooked one. Their dad, you'll find it out in the documentary, he ended up somehow finagling publishing rights of all the Beach Boys songs, and then he ended up selling it to some corporation for like $700,000. They have no rights to their music.
So maybe that's what I was thinking of. I thought, I don't. Maybe
that's the background.
Even still currently, they don't have rights to their songs.
Not publishing rights. No, they're out. That kind of nasty stuff happened to like Creedence Clearwater Revival. John Fogerty lost all his money because of bad management. Sly and the
Grand Funk Railroad. Grand Funk
Railroad's a perfect example of it. Bad management stole their money, and that happened. You gotta watch out for your money, boys. That's all there is to it.
I did it. Got anything? I got the Unfrosted. We watched Unfrosted, so I've got to give my review. I told you guys I was going to watch it. I'm a Seinfeld fan. The cast is insane. I mean, people were popping up left and right every scene. I was like, oh geez, as all-star of a cast as you can get for a comedy movie. I'll say this: I fell asleep. I didn't fall asleep. I was kind of like doing the dozing a couple times. It has moments that are funny. For the time machine thing to take you back to the 60s, it was perfect. It made you feel like you were back then. So all of that, it was cool. The set, obviously them talking about Battle Creek, being from Michigan is cool. It wasn't as funny as I thought. There were funny moments, but I don't think I laughed out loud at all. In fact, my wife, towards the end of the movie, she said, "I don't think I've heard you laugh once." And I was like, I'm chuckling over here a couple times, So it's tough because I like all those people, and the story is interesting, but it left a little bit that it could have been a little better. I don't know if the script could have been better. I don't know if it was just a bunch of people messing around making a movie. It was a little goofy. It'd be tough for me to recommend it to people. I'd be like, if you really like Seinfeld, if you really like Jim Gaffigan and some of these other people, watch it. But
that's kind of like my review, because like I said, I wasn't going to give it to Jared. No way in hell I would say recommend it to him. Right. You were kind of the fence guy, but I kind of thought you would give the review you just gave.
Yeah.
Because the reason I enjoyed it so much, it was a trip back in time, and even some of the references were kind of clever because I lived in that era. So that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah,
but I get both your points on that.
See, there's a way to do nostalgia right, like Stranger Things, the 1980s, because it's a great storyline around it, and it just happens to be in the 1980s. Then there's Unfrosted, and I still haven't seen it. Honest to God, I think this is maybe the last we'll ever talk about it. It's time to maybe set the sail on
put it away. Put it away.
But you know, I think it's ironic. I remember thinking about how you were kind of pitching why it was such a good movie, and your reasoning was, well, 3 out of 4 out of your family members, you know, liked it. And the more and more I thought about that, it's like, man, what a weird barometer, an echo chamber of people with all your same likes, all your same dislikes, basically bounce it off of and use that as a reason. I thought that was interesting. One thing but where I'm going to go with this. So we were talking about it, and I've already hammered this Unfrosted review enough. So last thing I'll say on it is I saw, like, on my Twitter, it's like I'm getting targeted, like, Unfrosted stuff now that we've talked about it. I saw somebody basically, like, tweet, like, basically, there's always been the debate, why was Seinfeld popular? Was it because of Jerry Seinfeld, or was it because of, man, why am I blanking on
Larry David.
And basically, like, what they said is, like, Unfrosted was the perfect, like, way to show why it was always Larry David all along, for why that show worked. So, again, you know, we're not trying to, I get why you liked it. It took you back to your childhood, but I think overall, I think that, you know, the opinion has been cast from the general public on what this movie was, and it was not a good movie.
Yeah, well, you probably are right on rating it as a good movie, but I enjoyed it. That's the whole point, you know.
Exactly.
We were a serial family. It all related to the 60s where I grew up. So again, it was strictly nostalgia, and some of the one-liners were pretty funny, but I get where the negative people are coming from as well.
There were some clever one-liners, but what it did, I would love to see whether it, like a legit movie or a documentary on when Pop-Tarts came out, to hear, like, I want to hear some of the, like, the post Kellogg's rivalry. Like, I'd be curious to hear like what actually happened, like how did this all go down? You know, I would be curious. So it did give me that.
Fair enough. Last time we're talking about Unfrosted. I think I'm going to get some Frosted Flakes for breakfast tomorrow, though.
There you go.
And to be honest, Pop-Tarts are overrated, man. I mean, toaster strudel, although they have some difficulties with getting the cooking right, they are the elite, you know, pastry, breakfast pastry.
That's fair. Toaster strudel, like Hot Pockets, is the ultimate. If you cook them 2 seconds too long, that stuff in the middle is like lava, and you're gonna burn your tongue. But the question is, so you're talking about cooking or whatever, Pop-Tarts uncooked or in the toaster? What's better, or does it depend on the flavor you're having?
I like my Pop-Tart. I really only like one. I mean, strawberry is okay, but I like the cinnamon on, what was it called?
The brown sugar cinnamon.
Brown sugar cinnamon, and I like to put a little layer of butter on it before I put it in the toaster oven.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I like it.
Disgusting. But why? What do you get from putting butter on it? That's interesting.
Oh man,
I like butter. I like butter.
Does it? That's a real
Don't you put butter on your toast? Do you put butter on your toast? I like butter.
Yeah, I wouldn't. That's not what I thought you were going to say. You're going to put on. I thought you were going to say ice cream or something that actually sounds. Butter, I don't think it hurts anything, but I don't get what you get out of it. Interesting. I'm more of a hot fudge sundae guy. That's my favorite.
Hot fudge sundae. I've never had that. S'mores used to be my favorite, so along the same lines. But no, I like them uncooked, straight out of the package, straight out of the NASA. The NASA aluminum foil package that they put on there.
I guess I like them toasted, but I would say 99 out of 100 times I've ate Pop-Tarts. I never toast them. Right. Almost as a snack, just grab them right out of the package and eat them.
No time to toast it. All right, before we wrap this up, fellas, there was one sports story I did want to get into real quick, and it's a fascinating story, and that's the whole Birmingham Southern baseball team going to the D3 College World Series. The college is shutting its doors down in a couple days from now, and the baseball team's still going to be playing at the College World Series. And a side story on that, you guys remember back when Adam LaRoche, this was back in 2016. He was a player, I think, for the White Sox at the time, and his kid got banned from the clubhouse. Well, his kid Drake LaRoche is one of the pitchers on this Birmingham team. So kind of a neat little side story there. I don't know if they're going to do much in the World Series, but it's definitely one of the stories that that I caught that I thought was really, really cool.
It is crazy because the school's been open for 168 years. So it's not like some school that's just been, open for a little while. That's a deep history, almost 200 years of the school being open.
Amazing.
Closing their doors, and the baseball team, that's going to be the last thing. Nothing. Kids have graduated, moved on. The only thing still going is the baseball team, and they have a chance to win the World Series. It is a cool story.
It almost makes me want to buy a Birmingham Southern T-shirt or something. Kind of like the Nimrods up north. I mean, it's classic.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, they have the opportunity if they could win this championship. I mean, I think I saw his tweets like it's a Disney movie just waiting to be made.
Right.
They just gotta figure it out and win the title, and the story's gonna blow up times 10.
Yeah. Well, I saw someone making the joke that like the school is letting out or closing when the World Series begins. So technically, when they start playing, especially if they advance in the World Series,
right,
they're going to be playing for a school that doesn't exist, and they're going to be college athletes, student athletes that aren't even enrolled to a school that exists. So it's like, who are they even playing for? Like, what is this even for? It's crazy.
Yeah, where are they going to put the trophy?
Right.
The other story that was kind of interesting on it too is when they were getting ready to play their regional final, like 9 of the players came down with food poisoning, and a couple of them were put in the hospital even, and they ended up coming back and winning that. It's just it's a Disney movie all the way.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is like in the movie, it would be like the school would be on the teetering of closing, and somehow they would loop it in where if the team wins the title, they save the school. Never quite how it really works. In real life, they just shut the school down. Don't even tell the students. Basically, go find education elsewhere. All your credits that you got at this little D3 school, none of them are going to transfer.
They're gone. So no transfer.
That's right. All right, guys. I think we made it through a pod. Let's wrap this up and watch a little couple quarters of basketball here. How's that sound?
Yeah.
I want to thank Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. Make sure you go talk to a rep, go online, see what discounts are available for memberships. They got swimming lessons. I think you got to get on the horn here real quick to get into the June schedule. So get details at memorialhealthcare.org. Our other partners include the ALS Association, AZ Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Corey Shook and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Tap House and Grill, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. Also want to send a shout out the boys from Chi-Town will be playing on May 30th over in Flint at the Machine Shop. That's one of their favorite venues. They'll follow that up with a June 1st show at the Centerline Independence Festival. So go check out our boys in Chi-Town. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks for listening again. See you next time.